Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope all of you took your coffee, your snacks, and get prepared to the third session of Angels Academy, specially tailored not only for Latvian, but also for our online audience. A significant part of it is consisted by Belarusian angel investors who are currently residing abroad in Europe and then in the United States. I must say that we are grateful for this opportunity for our supporters and donors, such as Ministry of Economic of Latvian Republic, SEB Banka, who is providing us this lovely space, as well as the United States Agency for International Development, which is provided us some support to organize this session online. Thank you once again. Today's topic is very special, so I will be listening to it with a huge attention, because today we're talking about what's it all, how to do your public relations and how to create your public image. Kind reminder to switch off all the cell phones. So today we have two lovely speakers. Each one is a great specialist and professional in his own field. The first speaker, Viachaslau Smirnou, around PR studio agency from Poland. He's really great in creating public relations and public images, not only for startup founders, but also for venture capitalists, early stage investors, and business angels. And the second speaker for today is my friend Reima Linnanvirta from Trind Ventures, Estonian-Finnish venture capital fund. You know that Trind Ventures are great partners and friends of LatBAN and already invested, along with our angels, into 2 or probably even 3 Latvian startups. So let me pass the microphone to Viachaslau and start the main part of our today's meeting.
Yes, so guys, hello. Let me start. First of all, I would like to thank personally to Kirill and LatBAN for having me here today. And to be honest, I came here 2 days ago to spend the weekend here in Riga in Latvia. So I had the opportunity to enjoy fully the all peculiarities of Latvian weather during the weekend. And my touristic guide told me that the best possible present you can get here in Latvia is an umbrella. And which is true, but I brought my umbrella with me, which made it okay. I mean, I really enjoyed the walk around the old town. And what I'm going to enjoy today is my presentation and to share all my knowledge and approaches with you. So as far as I know, we have today 2 audiences. First one, the online and offline, and second, the angels, investor, plus Kirill told me that there are also going to be some startup founders within this audience, so I'll be trying to satisfy both and explaining and giving examples from my personal practice for both audiences, investors, angels, and startup founders as well. So, yes, to say a few words about why I'm standing here in front of you today. And here you can see on the screen, that's Around PR Studio. That's the agency, the PR company registered officially in Poland, in Warsaw. And as you can see here on this picture, I'm enjoying my situation of being surrounded by beautiful ladies, which is no wonder. I mean, because people think that the majority of people working in IT are men somehow. But meanwhile, if you didn't know, I can explain you that the majority of people and staff working in marketing, in PR, regarding the IT are girls, beautiful girls and ladies, because they're so attentive to the details, and that's why being even more successful than men in this area. And saying that, like what we do PR for technical startups, we do PR for IT companies. And what is basically most surprising for me, that the most growing segment of all this audience on the last time are VCs, venture funds, accelerators, and angels, which are coming to us. Okay, basically, I mean, it's clear to understand that the startups need attention of investors, but also the angels and venture funds also need the attention of startups. from one side and another side, they need LPs and need capital. That's why the public relations is truly, it might be truly important and useful for that audience too. Another 2 words about the speaker, about me. So you like the phone? I mean, I'm pretty much cinematic. I like cinema. So my next slide will be devoted to one of the series, one of the films. So you can see it's kind of a, but still, I have 20 years of experience. Former PR director at the mobile operator A1 in Belarus. So I was born in Belarus and then moved to Poland to organize the agency, and head of PR department for Coca-Cola and Prestige on Cyprus, and twice marketing director for IT brands like Salt and Syndicate, one in Belarus, one in Ukraine. It's global outsourcing. And now, as I said, founder and CEO at Around PR Studio in Warsaw. So please let me entertain you first with this slide. As I said, I like to watch movies, like to watch series, and this one appeared to be rather important and rather, useful for myself, called We Crash, coming to the screen in 2022. Do anybody of you remember or saw the series? Probably you did. That would be in the boundaries. Okay, Kirill, I will try to. Not so easy, but still.
Not outside the box.
Not outside. Okay, thanks. So the series about it was a story of WeWork, this network, and Adam Newman as a very bright personality with a well-built brand. Yeah. So, and one scene of this film, of this series, is the following. So he's coming to the bank to attract some money to develop his business, and he comes to visit the clerk. Puts his passport on and said, I want some money to develop my business. And the clerk say, okay, we can give you probably maybe 10,000 euros. Dollars, it's been in America, of course. And which is not, of course, was satisfying for them a lot. So he said just 2 words, which completely changed the whole situation. So you probably remember. Do you remember which were the words now?
I don't have that good memory.
Not that, so I can remind. So those 2 words were Google me. And this is what the clerk does. He Googles Adam Newman, and then he calls to his boss. Adam Newman was invited to his personal cabinet, and then finally got 50 million to develop his business. Yeah, I mean, you may say this is just a cinema, yeah, just a film, just a series, but as Adam Newman himself confessed, that was taken directly from his life. So it was real situation, and at that time he received 50 million for his business. But finally, his empire crashed, as you remember. But this is not the end of the story. I mean, when his empire, we were crushed, then afterwards, in a few years, he invented another business in real estate sector called Flow. And then the Horowitz gave him 350 million after this guy and his empire completely crushed. So to me, it's rather good explanation, and the whole topic I'm going to tell you today in one slide. So the guy has built a strong PR brand, and that's why he got this 50 million in the bank, and that's why he got 350 on Horowitz in a few years when his empire basically crashed because of his strong brand. So it's got stuck somehow.
No, it works.
Okay, so now I would like to give you some concrete examples from my practice, because I've been asked today, to be very practical with my approach. Giving you examples, I mean, that was the only example not from my personal practice, but all the rest you will see today come into the practice of Around PR Studio. And this one is very exciting one, because it's ongoing. Yes, with the accelerator and venture fund Bridgeo. Don't know. I'm not so sure if some of you know. It's a Lithuanian one with the Belarusian roots. I think Kirill knows Bridger well. And the case, probably you have heard that now they are gathering a new fund, new venture fund on 6 million euros to support the hardware startups in Europe, the European startups. And what we've done together, they came to us and say, we need you to support this brand, to support this new venture fund. And the approach we proposed were a little bit unusual. So the fund itself hasn't been formed yet. So they have some soft commitments from the Polish governments, from some Polish investors as well. So they got like 5 million committed, but it's not fully gathered. So we decided to publish a lot of publication. By the way, all these like screens you can hear here on this slide, on the next one, so the real publication that we are doing with our clients. And for Bridger, we decided to come up with that message to the broader audience, saying that we already created this fund, the Bridger Venture Fund, which will be supporting the hardware startups in Europe. And that created a huge interest from the investor side, from the angel side. Yes, and SAS, Roman Pacholkov, the head of this, the CEO of this fund, received a huge amount of requests to meet. And now he said, I'm not capable even to answer all the, all the calls and all the propositions to meet, since his task now is to complete, yes, to find 1 million more and to complete this fund. Otherwise, the fund will not be happening. So the approach is that we announced the fund before it actually happened and started building a brand of this Bridger fund before it came into reality. And that is created some kind of brand and attractiveness to the fund, and the angels and some investors are coming to Roman now to discuss the opportunity of investment. By the way, if some of you, I think here in this audience and on the online audience, if some of you would like to join and to talk about joining this fund, I'll be glad to make an intro to Roman, and we'll have an opportunity to discuss this stuff. Good. Another good example of the venture investor coming to us is UltraVC. Again, a European accelerator and a European fund and investor, which wanted to support his brand. And what we've done together with them is that we conducted a survey asking startup founders about the balance between private and working life they have, like how many hours per day they use to work and what attention they pay to these families and all the stuff. So after that, we prepared the survey and went out to the public with this survey and published many publications, like about 20, as far as I remember, with that only one topic. So the second point why venture funds are so fun to work with is because they have benches of startup. So, and they are changing rather rapidly. Like we can eliminate the most interesting ones and go with the startup topic. So it works in both sides, to the startups and to the venture funds as well. Now, I promised you to talk also about how PR works in terms of investor relations for the startup founders, not only to the investors and angels themselves. And again, an interesting example, that's a startup called Sola, Cyprus-based AI-powered assistant for pregnancy, birth, and postpartum. And they had the CEO and the founder of the startup, Natalia Miranchuk, is a really bright personality. She's so public. And what we developed together is the strategy that we are doing a storytelling. So she had an interesting situation, like she had two child and the husband, which left them several years ago. So she appeared in a rather hard situation, and they decided to make a startup. And we're coming to the public and coming to press with that, message. that it's real life that encouraged her to invent that startup. And you can see here the publication, even in TechCrunch, even in Independent, in the British one. And one story also impressed me a lot. Then Google gave to Sola his medical AI drive under the hood. And we decided to keep up with the press release about this Google medical Palm 2 engine, which was released in more than 10 medias. And the stuff is that basically Natalia Miranchuk was trying to come to the leader in this sector, the company Flow, the billionaire, the unicorn, I would say. So she wasn't successful. And after this press release has been published, so the representatives of this company directly contacted Natalia, and now they are in negotiation about M&As, possibly. At least the cooperation is now settled. So the last example in this session, still last but not least, the company FAMS, and you can probably recognize the person on this picture. That's the pretty famous Polish investor Boris Musilak from the SMOK VC fund, the Polish fund, and Helena Malutina is a founder. She is Belarusian born, but still working and living in Poland, and she established FAMS, and she raised 400K from like a pre-seed funding from this SMOK venture fund. And basically, what we've done, I mean, you can see here just a few, like 3 publications, but we had much more. And after we've done that, we supported her brand, and now I think she ended up with that startup. But still, the attention of investors is that great that she is now trying to fund another startup in a different sphere, and that made her work. Good. So that was just the practical examples, and now let me teach you a little bit the PR formula. I will try to be useful to you and to make some advice for you to do the things yourself. Like the PR formula is looking like that: right goals plus consistency plus being creative, so it brings a success. And the first thing, so there are 6 basic points. So the first thing, you should define why you need PR. So in case of investors, in case of business angels, so it's majorly because they need to attract startup founders. Of course, they need to attract, if we're talking about the venture funds, they need to attract LPs and need to attract money. Second point, make a contesters analysis, which is extremely important stuff here, because when you look at the contesters, you might see that there is no need basically to reinvent the bicycle, because some of the instruments in PR that they're already using must be useful, and you can reuse it as well. And thus you elaborate your target audience, and you assume where your target audience lives, and you basically appear in those places. And the 6th point is, of course, repeat everything from scratch. Now, just a quick look on the medias that media investors and founders, both of the audience, used to read. That's the international ones like Sifted, Forbes, VentureBeat, TechCrunch, Inc., The Economist, and there are much more. And this is basically the global ones where we appeared to publish. Now, please let me follow you through the process. So if you would like to get the publication on yourself, what would you do? There are 4 stages. First one is research, pitch, follow-up, and release. So the first one is research. So if you would like to have a column, an expert column on the article, then you go to the Google to find out which of the medias would be potentially interested to publish you. Yes, and you can find it rather easily. On that side, you will also find the concrete journalists who were previously presented, who were previously published in the article, like in the same area. And my advice here is that you might find the emails of those people, because journalists do not really like when you approach them through social media or through messengers, for example. And that's why it's better to find the emails in order to address and to outreach them. And the second stage here is the pitch, which might be quite understandable to you, because, I mean, as angels, you're probably getting a lot of pitches from the founders, from the startup founders. So you can imagine how it looks like. It's just a few paragraphs of the text describing your idea and what you would like to publish and to propose to the media. Meaning that you don't have to prepare and to write the article from the scratch at the moment. You're just presenting the idea to the journalist, saying, okay, I have an expertise, I would like to propose you my experting article, and then you send him the mail with this short text. And I mean, the pitch should be as much personalized as you can only do. So you elaborate and you're trying to find much more information about himself, about children, about pets, whatever, and his hobbies, and what previous articles he wrote in the newspaper. And then you send this pitch to the journalist. Next stage is a follow-up. And the follow-up, I mean, I must confess that it's very rarely that the journalist is answering to your letter from the first time. So what you have to do is doing a follow-up. Very gently, very correctly, but then saying, it's a kind reminder, please look through my letter, but each time you are approaching that guy, that person, you're adding some additional information to it. Meaning some numbers, some essential meat, some pictures, whatever, each time from a different angle, and you follow up and you follow up. So my advice is that you can follow up the journalist from like 3 to 5 times, I mean, depending on the personality, until whether he is taking your article or he refuses, or she refuses, whatever. So, but anyhow, the journalist needs like 3, maybe 4 or 5 days to read it carefully. So before that time, you do not follow up. And okay, so follow up, and then the last one is release. If you're lucky enough, you will get the article published. And then what you have to do is to look it through very carefully in order to find possible errors, mistakes, and if you found, especially misspelling, which is important for your brand, because otherwise nobody would find you. And so if you found an error, then you send the letter to the journalist saying, please correct that. And I think, I mean, mostly they do that because they're grateful to your article, and that is good. So, and you're like keeping relations. You had better keep relations with the journalist, because otherwise it's easier for you to to publish second article in this media after you've done the first one. Yes, the personal founder's brand. I mean, this personality is really bright. I mean, his personal brand is so strong. I mean, I'm not so sure if he's done a right bet on this electoral campaign. We will see today, the evening time. But to be honest, I do not often advise people from business to to somehow participate in the politics, because for me it's rather dangerous, especially for building the brand and the publicity. But this guy is supposedly, I think he is trying to enter the politics, and probably he is considering this situation as an opportunity for the next election, whatever. So he is building his brand through politics as well. But anyhow, Now I have a checklist, to-do list, what you have to do, what you have to do in order to build a strong personal brand, whether it's an angel, whether it's a founder of a startup or a VC fund. So first you have to read the news to know the agenda. Why you have to know the agenda? Because SaaS, you might comment on the news, meaning you can prepare and publish a post in LinkedIn. You can find the article and you publish and then you comment it somehow, and this is important. The second advice is blogging on the free platforms like HackerNoon and Medium. Why is good? Because HackerNoon and Medium are strong enough, and thus your article there would be highly ranked by the medias and highly ranked by the Google search machine. So you would be visible. Number 3, to catch journal requests. Here I think you need a little bit of explanation. When the journalist is preparing the article, what he or she usually do is putting the request in Twitter, in the X platform, or Haro, or whatever, there is some soft about that, press feed, saying, okay, I'm preparing the article, I need your expert opinion. And if you would be fast enough to provide your opinion before the others, that's quite easy way to be published in the medias like even like New York Times or Wall Street Journal or whatever, very quick, in 1 day, in 2 days, in 1 week. So I really enjoy, I really admire this way of doing PR. And I always advise to look through carefully Twitter on the hashtag journal request. What else? 4, to be active in communities. In Facebook, in Slack, what does it mean to be active? To be like commenting, to be posting a lot, to be discussing. Yeah, that is, I mean, no need to explain how important that is. And number 5, participate and speak on events. So soon, I think a lot of you would attend Lisbon for the Web Summit and the conference like Slash, Emerge, Hub, Berlin. I mean, no need to explain why you have to be presented and speaking there and how important that is. Number 6, launch and product hunt. I suppose a lot of you know what is Product Hunt as a platform, which is probably sometimes more important and more useful for the startup founders, but as well for angels, as well for investors who are being there and checking what interesting products are appearing every day. Number 7, use podcasts. I mean, you would be surprised, but for example, in the US market, the podcast is so popular nowadays that now and Kamala and Donald Trump are coming to the podcast hosts. And I mean, millions of people are listening to just audio podcast in the United States, for example. So this is a real instrument. And number 8, creativity. And the creativity is a very special topic that I devoted even a special slide to this topic. My advice, be creative like hell. I mean, this is the instrument you cannot survive in PR without. And here again, I'm trying to give you one example from my practice for you not to be bored with all these checklists. And this is the American startup called BasePose. And what they're doing DNA tests for pets, for dogs, and for cats. And basically, so what they were doing, they were launching the new product, a DNA test for pets, for dogs in America, and they asked us for the support. But no competitive advantage at all. I mean, the product is more or less the same like the contesters. So, but we needed to find kind of a solution, a creative one, and we found one. So what we decided to do, we've taken the Midjourney AI network and taken the specialist from the BasePose startup, a genetic. It created the story. So the idea was to show up how the dogs, the most popular breeds, would look like in 10,000 years. And here down you can see some of the pictures that we created. We created many, like dozens of pictures. And we spent like 2 weeks with the Midjourney network. And then finally those pictures were impressive enough to be viral. And yes, this article has become viral and been published in 50 media across 15 countries of the world. And you can see even the article in Russian, since we didn't publish it in Russian, just to go to the American medias, and that's been published like in wherever, in Belarus and in Uzbekistan and in Ukraine and in different countries, because we created the newsworthy case, which hasn't been existed before, but that was kind of a launch with that creative case. Now, some another checklist, the preparation checklist. In order to implement the PR activities and to build your brand, you have to be prepared for sure. And if we are talking, for example, about the founders of startups, then the product should be prepared and the product should work without major bugs. And this is important because when you come to the press, what you might want to have is a link, a hyperlink in the article that coming directly to your website. So if your website is bad, is not prepared, then it's going to be more damaging than providing you some benefits of it. So your product works without major bugs. The website is functioning. And there is a clear description on what you do on your website, because otherwise people would come to see and then go out without finding an interesting story. Yes, founders' social networks are okay, meaning that, of course, if the person would be interested, they will go to social networks to check what you are posting there and who you are and what you are doing, so the social network should be in order. Some PR kit would be prepared, like if the story would be interesting for the journalist, he would say, okay, I need more information about your startup, I need to feature you, I need to prepare the article about you. And so the PR kit, meaning the information about the founders, about the basic info about the startup, and so on, should be prepared enough and should be given on the first request to the person. So, and last but not least, you should be ready to be hated, because if you come to the public, you will also find the person who would dislike you, who would hate you. And this is, something you should be prepared for. Good. So again, last but not least, I will give you a checklist of seven tools that are facilitating your PR work. Feedly and Google Alert. So you set a Google Alert and Feedly if you want to know what your contestants are doing. If these instruments are finding some info like some article or post or whatever happened in the network, that you would immediately be warned about that from that instruments. Mail track is looking if you're sending out the pitches with your article, and then mail track will show if the recipient has opened your letter. And if the letter is open, then you should pay attention to this one and probably to follow up him. Third, the Grammarly, Perplexity, this one are for the proofreading. So personally, I recommend Perplexity. For me, it works for proofreading, even in the grammar, even better than the ChatGPT, so on. Fourth, Twitter journal request. This is something I already touched in the previous slides. Journal request is that the journalist who is preparing the article, putting into the network, into social network Twitter, on the hashtag journal request, the inquiry to get your personal expert opinion, and that is an opportunity. Macrack and the Pocket Reach is helping you to find the right mails of the selected people. And number 6, BuzzSumo and Google Trends. You're looking into the trends, like what is now high in the network, what trends, what newsworthy case are worth to mention, to pay attention to, and so on. So, and 7, Podmatch is connecting you with the hosts of YouTube channels and the podcasts. So these are basically the information I wanted to tell you today. And of course, the last slide is Let's Be Friends. Here you can scan the QR code and we can be friends in LinkedIn account. And I'm more than free and ready to answer all of your kind questions.
Please go on. Maybe I'll ask.
Yeah, please.
You mentioned that it's very important to add some personal info, right? Mm-hmm. For the founder.
Yeah.
If it's, maybe my question will be if it's specific for all like directions, or there are several, or there might be some sensitive segments which you shouldn't do like this.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I mentioned here is that when you pitch the journalist, you have to know a lot about him or her, what she is doing, what she is preparing, what she was writing before, and that you put as much personal information into the pitch, meaning about the journalist himself, because everybody loves, I mean, to hear a lot about themselves. This is the same for journalists. And you say, like, previously, last week, for example, I have read your article about that and that, about that AI solution, and which admired a lot. And then, please, I would like to develop this topic. I have a command. I might provide you some information about that. So I might provide you some like experting, and so on. But your question refers more, as far as I understood, to the sensitive info about the startup itself, or about the founder.
Yeah, because you mentioned an example where that lady was telling her personal story.
Yeah. Oh, that is...
In the military sector, it doesn't work so well.
In military sector, yeah. In military sector, probably, yes. But the mentioning lady is a very interesting story. I mean, here you should be very correct. You walk on a rather narrow way without coming to the right or to the left. And PR is about emotions. That is something you should not forget about. So no emotions, no PR. Basically, even if the technical achievement is large, is high, then you should add some, like, it's like a spices, like a pepper and salt. You should be using some personal info to salt it, to pepper it, to spice it.
It's a humor-specific audience, right?
Which one?
I mean, you personalize this emotion for the target audience you want to target, right?
No, but I mean, the emotions also important for the journalist, because journalists exactly understand what their readers might have and might want. So if the emotions are present, it's easily to catch them, to touch them. If you catch them, then you have a discussion, sometimes a very long discussion, and then you provide your technical stuff and everything else. But for example, Natalia Miranchuk, that I mentioned one, she had an interesting, and still have, by the way, an interesting strategy about approaching women, mostly, even in terms of investment. So she's coming and sending emails to the women partners in the venture funds, because she suggests that women would understand better her personal story, spiced personal story, plus the essence of the instrument itself, I mean the startup. And the startup was about the postpartum and the birth and everything around, and the artificial intelligence would help to assist parents in this difficult period. And then she understood that if they address directly to women, they understand them better. And by the way, the strategy worked. So, I mean, the money she received basically from women partners. Yeah. This is what I meant. Please.
Yeah, Viachaslau, can you tell me the prices of your company, like the ballpark? You can choose any of those cases and tell how much did it cost for a startup to do those services from your side.
Oh, that's a tricky question.
You can choose any of them.
For this audience, probably I mean we can stay afterwards and discuss the whole stuff, because I mean it depends. It really depends on what do you need. So regarding my company, what we do and how we work with the startups and with the VC funds or whatever, is like 3 months is a minimum term, because you have to to enter into the story. You get to know the journalists, you get to know the founders, and then come into the technology. And during this 3 months period, we like accept some KPIs and we implement them. But again, it depends on how much you need and what are your basic like goals. Whether you want to raise money, do you want to attract more new clients, do you want to find new partners? I mean, it really depends. Depending on that, we are elaborating and proposing different instruments. And based on the instruments, we provide the price. So we can easily discuss it after after this presentation. I will be more than happy to tell you the whole scope.
Sounds great. Probably that's the question for the coffee break, and now we have to switch to the next speaker.
Thank you.
So hey, great to be here. Good afternoon, everybody. Quite a few familiar faces in the audience, but some new ones as well. So I'm Reima Linnanvirta, currently partner at Trind Ventures, but before that actually I have quite a long history in startup investing. So it's 15 years now. I don't know what the heck is wrong with me. But I started as a business angel in 2010 and become a full-time business angel since 2014. Continued that until 2022 when I moved to the VC side. Invested in 35 companies as an angel, been the president of LatBAN, led the Finnish business angel syndicate, Estonian syndicate, invested in a Latvian company in an Estonian syndicate, so pretty much different kinds of deals. And today a bit like continuing on the topic, so how to build your angel brand, but now more on the point of view that how you can build a network that helps your portfolio companies, but also helps you to succeed. As mentioned, partner at Trind, so briefly what we are at Trind. So we are an Estonia-based fund with also offices in Helsinki and Munich. We invest all over Europe into companies with a consumer or community component. These days, software. Latest addition in Latvia has been InGain, which was actually a co-investment with a LatBAN syndicate that we completed the deal in spring. And a really exciting journey actually after that. Another one investment that I have in my angel portfolio in Latvia is actually this that was ranked in Sifte at the CE area #1 most exciting, so Chef, but more about that later. But to start with, I actually took one slide. And by the way, I'm staying in the box. It's not my strong suit, so let's see how it goes. I took one slide from FIBAN training back in the day when, I don't know actually how old, based on the logo, it's at least 7 years old slide. But something that we have used in the angel training all the time, so this is the beginner training, and what do angel investors give to the companies? Something we train to the angels, but more important, this is something we taught to the founders. And like, of course, yes, you can get money. Excellent. Or if you're an expert in your field, you can get knowledge. Those two are pretty easy to explain. I mean, knowledge, yeah, I know how to scale startups. Money, in this case, it's euros. But networks, they usually are a bit vague. So yes, if those are potential customers, if, for example, as an investor, you come from the industry where this company operates and you know every customer in Europe, yes, you can open doors. But what I learned is that the networks that my founders most likely want me to give them, where we can get more money, who are the next investors. And actually it works also the other way around. It's a lot easier for an investor to build the access to the later stage investors than what it is for founders. And this is something that I've seen that angels could do better. So if I think about, for example, last year Tech Chill, let's do a test. How many last year during Tech Chill, you don't need to have a Tech Chill ticket to do it, but who were in town that time? How many of you met a foreign investor? Mainly hands coming from founders and consultants. So basically, investors, you should be doing that. Of course, meeting the founders as well, but also building the network. Why? Well, the more obvious one is what I already mentioned. If you know the potential co-investors, you can make the warm introductions to your portfolio companies. But more importantly, if I think about Tech Chill happening or Slush is coming in 2 weeks in Helsinki, there's 10,000 founders, there's maybe 4,000 investors, which I'm gonna meet in the event. If I meet a founder, I see one startup. And just to put things in perspective, currently we look through 4,000 to 5,000 startups every year, and we invest from 8 to 10. So meaning that it's 0.5% that we do. So likelihood that if I take a founder meeting, less than 1% that it's useful. But when I meet an investor, they have a portfolio of companies. So I get access to not one deal plus their current portfolio, but actually all their future companies as well. So ideally, I can develop a constant deal flow source for myself. But it's actually not only that, because what many investors like to do is that if a case comes to you, you really love the founder, but maybe you're short on capital, too much cases already on the table, this is totally out of your field. At least what I like to do is that if I really like the founder, I like that the founder likes me. So I give a warm intro to somebody. For me, it means that there's now one founder who maybe puts on a good word on me, and also the investor who got the case now remembers me. So it's not only about the cases that are in the portfolio, but it's also the cases that are rejected. And this is maybe one thing to keep in mind, that when you reject a case, that actually builds more your reputation than the cases you invested. Because if I say no 4,992 times and yes 8 times, even those yes persons, like Tom's from Jeff, he's super vocal, but he's not so vocal that it would go over these thousands of cases I've said no to. So if I've been able to help those, I've been able to maybe turn few of those as my evangelists. But the same also works the other way around. So I actually covered that one already. So it works the other way around as well. So as a VC, if I found an interesting case, but it's too early for me, what do I do with that case? No, sorry, come back later. Well, the chances are that the founder doesn't come back to me later. So what I actually like to do is that I want to do a favor for that founder, so that it's more likely that the case comes back to me. Hey, sorry, it's too early for me, but I know Tom's might be a right investor for the case. That's already then more likely that the founder would remember me and come back. But if I push this to certain investor that I trust, it's even more likely to come back to you. So this is sort of the way that it goes both ways. You're not only getting opportunities for your portfolio companies to raise funding, but actually chances of getting higher quality deal flow on yourselves. And it's not only these warehoused kind of cases, it's pretty much that I would say that out of the cases I see, 50% are shit. Oh, sorry. And 30% are that I cannot help. But about 15% are something that I like to refer to somebody. It might be that it's a later stage investor, earlier stage investor. It might be even that it's not a VC case, but I call a bank, call SEB. It might be suitable for them. To be honest, I haven't referred any cases to SEB, but your competitors in Finland, Estonia, Sweden, and Italy, yes. But I will fix it for Latvia as soon as I can. So gives this sort of opportunity, just to give them perspective, these are companies from my angel portfolio. So with Gorilla Capital, we have most cooperation. On the slides, we have 5 co-investments, 6. But apparently, when I was making the slide, I forgot one of my portfolio companies. This is what happens when you invest in too many companies. So good rule of thumb, portfolio is big enough when you know how many companies you have. Don't do what I did. But for example, Screenful and Cambry were ones that we both were investing in the same round. So in Screenful, I was leading an angel syndicate. In Cambry, Gorilla was leading a syndicate and gave me the opportunity to join. Felix team was one that I invited Gorilla to join on the same round. Fiksuvuokraus and Vitview, I asked Gorilla to join on a follow-on investment. But the interesting one was Smirnou. They were already in Gorilla's portfolio, doing really well, really the kind of case that normally investors would fight to join in. Gorilla had a problem. They were already maxed out on that company. They couldn't add more capital. So they called a group of trusted angels that, hey, It's doing a small round. Do you want to take our pro rata? On the next column, we'd already talked about feeling stream, but actually in case of feeling stream, Innovestor was a follow-on investor. In Innomos, they were follow-on investor. In Ogosip, they were follow-on investor. So you can guess that, okay, they're already later stage investor. Except that Innovestor has several pockets. So in Promo Republic, it was actually that they first passed it because of too early, referred that to me. And then on the next round, I called Innovestor back that, hey, do you want to invest? So example on the kind of case that goes back and forth. Presto I took as an example just to show that it's not only with the Finnish local funds, but really internationally. So Jeff, Presto followed there, us. On royalty range, Presto followed as well. Then what started my cooperation with Trind was actually these two cases. In Toimer, I was running an angel syndicate. At the same time, Trind was looking to invest in the company, so we decided to join forces, gave a joint term sheet, and did the investment. And I was actually representing both the angel syndicate and Trind in the board of that company. And then on royalty range, Trind was looking to invest into it and was thinking that it's a tax technology company. Yes, tax technology, that is a thing, believe me. But you can guess that there are not too many people who understand tax or technology, at least if those two need to be understood at the same time. So, not so surprisingly, because they knew one angel who understood both of those, I have a hidden history as a tax advisor. They called me, do you want to join the round? They didn't know that I actually knew the company, but not as a startup. I knew it as a customer. Are they fundraising? Hell yeah, I'm in. So just to give an example, what kind of journeys you can get as an investor if you sort of have built that broad investor network. Which brings us to the next topic. How you get that network done? Well, of course, it's networking like everything. You're already doing it here in the room. Sorry, guys, online doesn't work that way. But those who are in the room, so meet people, first step. But that's sort of not enough. So first, where to meet the investors. I already asked that who met foreign investors in TechChill or in Riga during TechChill. I would hope that next time I ask the same question after TechChill, I would see more hands. So local investors are easy. Those come to events like this, FinTech Forum tomorrow. You can probably catch them in some event in Startup House. But for foreign investors, it's pretty much that they come to the events. But like I said, it's more easy to get the meeting as an investor than that it is a founder. So sorry to say, for founder, it's one case. It has to be super spot on to my investment thesis that I would take the meeting. But if there's an angel with 10 companies in the portfolio and seems active, okay, probably it's more relevant meeting for me. And reaching out to the investors in the matchmaking platforms or networking events or whatnot. Tip number 2, during events, there's a lot of networking events that are investor only. And usually if you are an investor, those don't require tickets. One of the perks of being an investor. For founders, yeah, you might need the tickets, but everybody wants to see investors. So take the advantage of these events and use that to sort of build the first connections. But those are just the first connections. This is just getting things started. And this is, I would say, that where most of the investors, especially angels doing networking, got things wrong. You meet the people, you know their face, you know their name, but what you don't know is where they actually invest. And partly is the reason of investors. They're usually super vague or cryptical about where we invest in. Is there anybody in the room who can say in 5 words their investment scope?
I can. Invest in early stage European founders under 10 million.
Sorry.
But it's quite enough.
It was close enough. Well, partly it's of course, especially as an angel. I mean, I know one angel has given me great answer to the question. Everything. And as an angel, that's the perk. As angels, we can invest in anything. There is no LPA limiting what we do. There is no promise that we have given to our limited partners, so we can do whatever we want. And then, I mean, you can have your rules. I had my rules. I only invest in software companies that I could understand. And still somehow I have raw materials to replace plastics and also for cosmetics industry. I have vegan oat-based cheeses in my portfolio. So yeah, I broke the rule a couple of times, a bit more than a couple of times. Half of my portfolio broke the rule. And also from part of the investors is that we don't want to make it too strict so that we don't miss a great opportunity. But one thing that all VC investors need to have, in their website you can find what is their investment thesis. And if you know how to decipher it, then it becomes easier to understand where they actually invest. So this is us. We invest in European seed stage software startups with a consumer or community component. I know this by heart, I don't need to read it. What does it mean? Seed stage, European. Well, that's easy, or at least I would think so. The company needs to be in Europe, the founders should be in Europe, and yet all the time I get pitches on companies from US, from Africa, from India, and the pitch is how about we set up a holding company in Malta. Not European enough, but still relatively easy. Seed stage, well, we can do pre-seed, but seed is sort of the sweet spot. Quite a lot of pre-seed companies reach out to us, but usually when an investor says that they look for seed, it doesn't mean certain MRR, it doesn't mean a certain round actually. So seed doesn't necessarily mean seed round. What it means is that the company is already past MVP, so there is some traction that the company already has. Apparently, we also invest in pre-MVP with traction. I didn't know that this is possible, but yeah, we did it. First time ever. Software, well, once again, pretty easy, but software means software, not software-enabled hardware, not hardware. Last week I was pitched a mechanical horse, and the founder claimed that it's software because technically, first of all, it got quite a lot of code, and technically it's a platform. That's true, we like platforms, but I didn't think it that way. My English is not that good. Startup. In this room, everybody knows what is a startup. For some people, I need to remind it's not a gold mine that I was pitched 2 weeks ago. It's not a hospital that I was pitched a month ago. So yeah, there's quite a lot, as you can see, there's quite a lot of people who send out these requests without understanding where the investor invests in. We dive into that a bit later. Finally, this is the critical part. What the heck is a consumer or community component? So every VC has this, what is the secret sauce, why they are different from others, and usually then you end up with something cryptic. And the best way to get an answer to that is to ask, what does this mean? So in our case, it means that we look for business models with a lot of end users. What is the best way to know if it's such? How the customer pays. Do they pay with an invoice or credit card? If they pay with an invoice, we don't care about the case. If they pay with a credit card, we might love it. But once you read these two, Dykes and Ike, every VC has something similar, then you are able to understand where they really invest. But as said, probably you better to sit down with the investors, meet them sit down with them, go through what this actually means. Because this is marketing language. Their existing portfolio always can give hint, but the risk is in the existing portfolio is that the investment thesis might have changed. So for instance, in our website, you see 3 portfolios. You see Fund 1, Fund 2, and Trind Investments. Trind Investments is in our angel portfolio. It didn't have any scope. That's everything. If Ivar liked it, we invested. And Ivar likes a lot of stuff. Fund 1 started, we had this current thesis on Fund 1 at the end of its life, but at the beginning it was more broad, so we narrowed down. But Fund 2 this thesis keeps up. But there are especially platform funds, so funds that first raise one fund with a certain thesis, then move on another with a totally different thesis. Like Innovestor started with technology, then they went to services, then they went to deep tech. Now they are at life sciences, and they did the Ignition Fund. So really different kind of cases if you start look from the portfolio side. But then the second, what I already touched a bit, so gold mines, hospitals, cases out of Europe. So unfortunately, I see out of that 4,000 to 5,000 cases, most is actually totally out of our scope. And that's, I can with good conscience say that 50% of those are shit. Those are shit investments for me because I cannot put money in those. But that also comes that if you as an angel promote your portfolio companies to the follow-on investors, try to be relevant. I can roughly say that there are three types of angels I work with. One, my favorite kind, when the case comes to me, it goes to top of my desk right away. That's the hottest thing. I know that that angel only puts on good cases and knows my investment thesis and gives me a case that is relevant for it. Then the third category is the kind of, if you would not record, I would mention a name here, but who I think he has sent to me for the cases nothing remotely in our investment scope. So pretty much if he sends me something, it's currently the point that it doesn't go in the bottom of my inbox, it goes to trash can right away. So not very good for the founder to get an intro on that kind of setup. Then of course there are angels in between, so sort of shortly relevant opportunities, but might be more effort to put on the understanding. I would say that this problem is often that the investors don't really know the other investors' investment scope. And like the expectation level is not that it's 100% hit rate. So if it's, I would say 50% re-hit rate that I take a meeting, it's already like very relevant deal flow. And this may be circling back to the previous presentation. So being visible means that I cannot go in front of that because otherwise it doesn't see in the camera. So same way as we scout startups, we scout other investors. So of course it's easier to scout if you can find them. And generally speaking, angel investors are not very visible. How many of you have a profile in PitchBook or Nordic 9 or Crunchbase or any similar? 2 investors and 1 founder. And by the way, I've been trying to get out of those for a while. How many of you have listed the portfolio in LinkedIn? Getting better, getting better. I know I told this story before, but the way that I become the most visible angel investor in Finland was to add angel investor as my LinkedIn title. So yeah, it's a common problem that angels don't want to be visible, but it helps to be discovered. I wouldn't necessarily say that having the PitchBook or Crunchbase profiles is that useful, but having at least on LinkedIn. But yeah, there's some, for example, the more and more I work with super angels, they have the profiles, they have websites promoting their portfolio, so it's really run like an investment firm kind of approach. And of course, it makes it easier to find it. And of course, all of the PR approaches that you can make. And of course, as angels, we don't necessarily, we can use the portfolio companies, and best way actually to get visibility as an early stage investor is to get the funding round news out, because those attract quite a lot of attention, and that is pretty much the only way where you can get your name out. But of course, when you're setting a new fund, things like that, then you can get visibility. But as an angel, it's more complex. But then we can use all kinds of other tricks. So for instance, I realized I had given different kind of advices to startups. And one Christmas break, didn't have nothing to do. I was just, let's see how many I can write down from my memory. So I wrote down about 400. Then I sorted those down to tweet-sized tips and reduced them to 365. So I have my next year social media activities ready. So I posted it 1 per day, 365 days. Ended up also having published in a book. it's very easy to become an Amazon bestseller apparently. So 365 startup tips. So I mean, whatever. My friend Ali Omar, one of the most visible Finnish business angels, he is doing these microsports, so he doesn't have time to do social media content. What he does is that when he walks from his home to his office, about 200 meters, he records a video of something for the startup founders to think about. And those are getting really popular. But I think here the key is that whatever works for you. I mean, that's not the right way. And if you start to copy what everybody else is copying, then it sort of doesn't work.
May I ask, that's the first time I see your book in printed version. Any chance to have it as a gift for LatBAN?
I took 3 copies, so. I can bring you more next time. Yeah, unfortunately, Finnair has these stupid package limitation rules as of today, so I need to bring those piece by piece. But I have more reasons to come here. But yeah, that's about it. So happy to take any questions.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I have a question, but from a startup point of view.
Generally, founders are more private than investors. So
Yeah, so regarding the LinkedIn, a lot of people write in their LinkedIn like investor, but like in my case, like in my experience, that's sometimes it's like bullshit because like they invest, like I don't know, like into Tesla stock a few €100 and they just write investor. And if you try to like write them like, hey, maybe that's like I'm not fit for you, they're like, yeah, maybe you are. Like, no, you're not. Are you on Nasdaq?
yeah. Now this is, but very good point that this comes that if you have nothing, and then you reach out to startup that, hey, you have a cool case, I would like to invest in you. How does that founder know that you're a real investor? So sort of the more you have, like if you have listed the portfolio on LinkedIn, then the founder can check out from the other founders that, okay, is this a really investor? What kind of investor? Is there any benefit on that? And also, the more there is these kind of things, so if somebody would have in the LinkedIn title 20 companies listed as portfolio companies in LinkedIn, a website with the portfolio, a blog on the topics constantly, I would say that the first impression would be that, okay, this probably is an active investor. I have seen actually some scams like that, and I think it's important that the hottest cases are something that we are competing. So how we tackle that problem, how we tackle that founder has a doubt, is that person a real investor? Because if you are fighting on the hottest case, you want to be the first one that they call, not the 20th one. Excellent question. I owe you a beer again.
That's great.
It's not exactly like you're saying. Like, everyone wants to be the last one in the first batch or in the first round, but nobody wants to be the first one.
That's not the hottest case.
Yeah, well, but that's the reality. Mostly people want to.
Yeah, I agree. Angels are lemmings in a sense, but it also maybe tells a bit of the maturity of the market. So at the same time, if I look at the Finnish super angels, they are the first one to jump into the deal because they know that the deal will go on. But if that case drops to the, after the first 100 super active to the next batch, then it's still good enough to be invested, but everybody is waiting, is somebody gonna take the lead? So, but yeah, I see the problem, and if somebody can solve how to efficiently lead the syndicates and syndicate, I buy more than beer. I've been trying to solve that problem ever since 2012. And I should be solving that same problem now at EBAN, but.
Yeah, well, business angel networks is one of the ways how this should be done. Yeah.
More questions, please? We have some time.
Everybody's waiting for the pitches, so. If there's no more questions now, if you have anything else, contact me if you want. And talking about understanding investors, so I deciphered our investment thesis, but actually I made founders' life easier, so we have a test. So if you score 35 points, then I want to invest. If you want to check it out, scan the QR code. If it works, I don't know. Well, technically it works, but at least when I tried to scan on the screen, it was a bit difficult. But you can also find it on our website, which is as difficult as trind.vc. But thanks from my side, and let's move forward.
Thank you so much, Reima. And no doubt, I will share all your contact details to all our LatBAN members. For now, 10 minutes of coffee break, and then we switch to startup pitches, right?